Welcome to the dvm360. I'm Team Channel Director Portia Stewart. A second lawsuit has been filed against Texas veterinarian Millard Lucien Tierce over the treatment of another patient at Camp Bowie Animal Clinic. Kimberly Davis of Dallas County, Texas, alleges that Tierce conducted experiments on her Chihuahua Hercules for more than 4 months after the dog was supposed to have been euthanized. Tierce was arrested in May on suspicion of cruelty to animals after a former employee alerted 2 of Tierce's other clients that a dog they thought had been euthanized 6 months earlier was still alive. Both parties are seeking $1 million in damages. The makers of the rodenticide DECZM have finally agreed to comply with the EPA's 2008 prohibition of second-generation anticoagulants. The company chose a different anticoagulant as its active ingredient, veering from its competitors, most of whom use bromethylene, a dangerous pet toxin that has no known antidote. Veterinary toxicologists are pleased with DECZM's decision, stating that pets, children, and wildlife will be safer as a result. When practices tackle cash flow problems, financial consultant Denise Tumblin says employee compensation often takes a beating. Can you guess which group in the clinic is hardest hit?
I think that in general, salaries are the thing that when practices are having trouble either paying their bills or really trying to manage their expenses, obviously compensation is one of their biggest expenses, so that's where they tend to go to try to reduce spending. And I think that particularly, if I were looking at all 3 of those areas, I would say the hardest hit area, if you will, in terms of perhaps managing that expense too well is in the non-doctor staff. They are, in many practices, they are woefully underpaid. And I know that at least most of the practices I work with definitely want to change that, and we're seeing positive improvement, but I think there's still a ways to go to make this a profession that people can afford to continue to work in.
dvm360 is featuring a 5-part conversation between practice management expert Brian Conrad and veterinary economics editor Brendan Howard. In this excerpt, the two discuss the future of the veterinary practice manager.
We have less than 350 certified veterinary practice managers, not only in the United States, but that's including part of Canada. And so if you start to do the division, I mean, that's only a couple per state. You know, that's really, again, that's the gold level standard of saying, hey, we know our stuff. So the future is extremely bright. I think you're going to see these practices become bigger. I think you're going to start to see the practice managers, some of those duties are going to get segregated as you start to need people that are focused just in human resource, or they're focused just in the finances or the marketing. I mean, think of how much time, you know, in 5 years we're going to be spending on social media or things we haven't even heard of. And I think, and this people might be watching, might not like to hear this, but I think, you know, over the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see ownership by maybe non-DVMs more, and more so than ever is it going to be important to have somebody that truly understands the industry going forward. So I think that's what we have to look forward to. But if you're considering this industry in management, I couldn't encourage you more.
Be sure to visit dvm360 to view the entire series. Sedating turtles and tortoises can be challenging. Here, Dr. Stephen Divers discusses anesthesia in chelonians using a drug that's on its way to being approved for use in the United States.
Another new drug, which is currently going through USDA approval, is alfaxolone. This is a drug that's had a very long tried and tested time in both Europe and Australia, and it's a very nice IV induction agent, very similar characteristics to propofol, but unlike propofol, alfaxolone is also effective if given by intramuscular injection. So if you find yourself using alfaxolone and you can't get that intravenous, or you've gone perivascular, you can give a higher dose intramuscular and create a very similar effect, albeit over a slightly longer duration.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of The 5. If you have suggestions for future shows, email us at dvm360@advanstar.com. And for the latest news, medicine, and business information, be sure to visit dvm360.com every day.
Rolling?
When practices tackle